Welcome, my amazing viewers. Thank you so much for joining me on my program once again. I appreciate you wherever you are connecting from. If you have not subscribed to my channel, please kindly subscribe to my channel. Click the notification bell so that you'll be notified each time I upload a video. You will be among the first to receive it. Thank you so much, and remember, blessed. Whenever you look my video, whenever you watch my video, share the video to all platforms. Share it to family and friends. Share it in your WhatsApp group so that people can get information on what is happening in the contraption called Nigeria, mainly against the Biafrans, against the Duduas, against the indigenous people in the contraption called Nigeria. I try as much as possible to set the record straight. I don't preach hate speech. I don't speak against people. I set the record straight. The only important thing I do here is to make sure that the plight of the people remains on the front burner and the world will know the true story of what is going on in the contraption called Nigeria.
Let's now meet our panel of legislators from the southeastern states here present. It's important to say that the invitation for this program was sent to every single senator and representative from the southeast. And here in the studio with us today, I will start from my immediate left, Senator Ike Ekweremadu. He is here representing Enugu West Senatorial District. Thank you very much for coming, Senator.
A pleasure.
We also have here with us in the studio Senator Uche Ekunife from Anambra Central Senatorial District. Thank you very much for coming. We also have here with us in the studio today Senator Eyinaya Baribe for Abia South Senatorial District. Thank you very much for coming here, Senator.
Thank you.
And also, we're joined by Senator Obinna Oba for Ebonyi Central Senatorial District. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you very much. So, here's how this program will go. I'm going to quickly explain the structure of our program. We'll hear from our constituents to try and find out what they understand about the role of a legislator. What do you think the legislator does for you? How can you best describe the job that he does representing you at the National Assembly? And then the legislators will then try to respond to their understanding of what their jobs are, and if there are any corrections, you would make them there. It's also important to note here that we have a remote location in Owerri, the capital of Imo State, where we also have some constituents on standby who will be joining this conversation as well. And then from understanding what the role of the legislator is, we will then find out how often they interact with their constituents. How easy or difficult is it for you as a constituent to access your representative at the National Assembly? And if there are any means that can be introduced to enable easier access to them, you can feel free to introduce those ideas here as well. We also understand that every job has its challenges, and so we would ask that you share with us some of the challenges you face on the job and how these things can be addressed. And then we will look at how the legislators' activities have addressed your need as their constituents. Wherever you are watching us in the world, you're invited to join this conversation as well. So please send us a text on WhatsApp to the phone number on your screen right now. And throughout the course of this program, we will take your messages here. And so, to set the ball rolling, let's begin with what I like to call understanding the legislature from the citizen's perspective. We will take 3 questions from here in the hall and 3 from our remote location in Owerri so that they can be a part of this conversation as well. To make your submission, please use the microphone on either side of the room. State your name and where you're from, and then go ahead to make your submission. Remember to keep it as brief as possible. So, if you understand what the work of a legislator is, I would like you to step up to the mic and make your submission. What do you understand is the job of a lawmaker? From this side, please use the microphone right there at the aisle, and then from the other side, let's use the microphone right there at the aisle. What do you understand is the job of a legislator? I'd like for us to begin with that. Anybody here? Anybody, you can please use the microphone there. What do you understand is the work of a legislator? Let's get your name and where you're from. You'll need to move a little closer to the mic, please. Sir, can you, if you have to lift the mic, that's okay. If you have to lift it from the, no, if you have to just take out the microphone, perfectly fine, yes. Please, can we help our constituents with this, with an extra mic, please? So we are just going to try and get his understanding of what his job, of what the legislator's job is. All right. If that's all set, we can take your contribution. If it's not, let's go to the other side of the room and get your contribution. If there's anyone from that side of the room, please step up to the aisle and submit and make your submission. What do you understand is the job of a legislator? Please come to the aisle and make your submission. Whoever is going to, yes, please, use the microphone close to you. Okay, we're having some difficulty with your microphone. If you could please hold on for a minute. If we can also get any responses from our remote location in Owerri, that would be great as well. But let me start with you, Senator Ekweremadu. You've been in the Senate for quite some time now. How would you, very simply, describe the job that you do every day as a lawmaker representing your people at the Senate?
Well, thank you so much. Our jobs are laid out in the Constitution. There are others that you can decipher from practices and then from what's happening in other jurisdictions. Because our democracy is still quite nascent, it's young. So we'll try as much as possible to borrow from different places. But the principal job of the legislature is the making of laws under Section 4 of the Constitution, whether at the State Assembly or the National Assembly, is to make laws, which is essentially to make law for the order and good governance of the country. And then it goes further to state which areas you need to make laws, and these are contained in Schedule 2 of the Constitution. So they're all demarcated between the federal government and state government, what we call exclusive list and then concurrent list. But those are matters of detail. The other thing we do is what we call oversight. And it's also stipulated in sections 88 and 89 of the Constitution. That's where you see parliamentarians doing a public hearing, invite so many ministers and commissioners to come and answer questions. So those are also contained in the Constitution. Of course, we approve treaties. So if there's any treaty between Nigeria and another country, it's expected that it will be approved by the National Assembly. And sometimes we approve borrowing plan and borrowing itself, so it helps with the debt management of the country. Now, we also, under Section 4, which most people don't understand or don't even know, that National Assembly is supposed to approve military operations outside Nigeria. For you to deploy members of armed forces to any operation outside of Nigeria, whether it is levying war or whatever, you need the approval of the National Assembly.
Does that also cover the police when they go on business?
No, the word is the armed forces.
Okay.
Because the executive can deal with that of the police, but essentially, if you are deploying our soldiers, you need the approval, which for most times they don't. Then we also confirm certain appointments, like appointment of ministers and commissioners. So they need the approval or confirmation of the legislature. Then, of course, we're also involved in removal with the president, the vice president, the governor, or the deputy governor, what we call impeachment process. Because we run a presidential system, which is different from the parliamentary system. So if you are running a presidential system, there is always a provision on how you can remove an erring chief executive, either the president or the vice president. So these are part of the things we do. Now, if there is any threat to the country, then we also get involved in what we call state of emergency. So the president can now declare state of emergency. Of course, that needs confirmation, approval of the parliament. If we are not in session, we have to be reconvened. If we are in session, we have to do it quickly.
Okay.
Yes, then finally there's also what we call parliamentary diplomacy. So that's why we get ourselves involved in international organizations like the IPU, the ECOWAS Parliament, the Commonwealth Conference, International Parliament for Peace and Tolerance. That gives us visibility as a country. So this is essentially the summary of what we do as parliamentarians.
Let me come to you for a minute.
But let me add also that there's also what we call representation. We borrowed that from America. It's not in the Constitution. That's where we talk about constituency projects. Okay. We go out to see what we can get for our people, terms of roads and health facilities, and all of that. All
right. So let me come to you for a moment, Senator Ife. What are some of the misconceptions about your job as a lawmaker that you have heard? I don't think that we can clearly hear what you're saying, so if you could maybe speak up a little louder, Honourable Senator. Okay, so we're going to try and get that fixed here. Okay. Can we, we'll try and come to you just in a minute, because it's for broadcast purposes, so we need to be able to get people up. So we'll come back to you in a minute, Senator. Senator Baribe, I think maybe you should save the day here and take the question. What are some of the common misconceptions about your job that you've heard from Nigerians?
Well, I think that the basic misconception about the role of a legislator is that the public thinks that the legislator is also an executive. And so the basic misconception is that they assume that the legislator should build roads, should put borehole, should do all those things that the executive is expected to do. That is the fundamental misconception. Like Dr. Kuremadu has said, we borrowed from the American system representation of your people. And representation in this sense means that we can put things in the budget for our constituents. But our basic job is to make laws for the good governance of the people of Nigeria.
Senator Ogba, if I may come to you, what are some of the common misconceptions about your job that you've heard, maybe from your constituents or even from other Nigerians? Okay, it does appear that we might be having some problems with some microphones there. We sincerely apologize for that. We'll try and get that sorted in just a moment. But remember that this is all about trying to understand what the job of a lawmaker is and help deepen your understanding of the process so that you can better engage your lawmakers. If we have if we have our constituents in Owerri, they can join the conversation now. What do you understand is the job of a legislator representing you at the National Assembly? Also, I understand that the microphones in the hall are functioning now, so if you would love to step to the mic, that would be welcome as well. What are some of the jobs that you think your lawmakers should be carrying out that, in your opinion, they might not be carrying out? And obviously, if there's any misconception here, we would take that. Owerri, let's hear you. What, in your opinion, are the jobs of a lawmaker representing you at the National Assembly? I want you to start by introducing your name and telling us where you're from, your constituency.
Okay, my name is Prince Chimezie Okoro. I am from Owerri North, LGA, Imo State. Now, summarily, the job of our lawmakers has been summarized into two. One is making laws for the good governance of Nigeria, and the second most important one there is active, underline that word, active and result-based oversight functions. You don't just make laws, don't mean you are doing oversight functions. Meanwhile, you are not even close to where those laws are being implemented. As parents, we give our children things to do, ask them to do things, and then we leave. That is not an active and oversight function. So as lawmakers, one of your most important duties constitutionally is not just oversight. It should be, please underline again, active and result-based oversight, which means monitoring and evaluating those laws that you make to see if they are actually being put in place.
Thank you.
This is my point.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate that. If there's anyone else in the way who would like to make a submission, we will take that submission as well. Okay, so we do have another constituency in Owerri on standby. So I remember that you should state your name and where you're from, your constituency, and then we will have your submission in 30 seconds, please, if you can.
I'm Marjorie Ezihe from Okigbo North Federal Constituency in Imo State. Good morning, everyone from the southeast, wherever we're joining from. Mine is simply this: constituency projects. How, who, what, where, when. The senators or lawmakers just sit back in Abuja and decide for us what constituency projects to do. Because examples abound of hastily thought up, selfish projects that do not have any human face or bring any results for the citizenry.
Okay.
So I, for one, and I think a lot of citizens would like to see constituency projects that meet the needs of the common Nigeria.
All right, thank you very much.
Let the common humanity be the driving force behind this project.
Thank you very much, Ezinye, for your contribution. That was well noted. So let's come back to the studio now, Senator Ekunife. You heard the submissions from Owerri. Would you like to respond to that?
Yes, I would like to start from the contribution from Prince Chimeze that talked about the expectations from legislators in terms of active, result-oriented oversight. Section 8.8 has given us, Section 8.8 of the Nigerian Constitution as amended, has given the legislators the power of oversight. And what is the reason for oversight? Just checks and balances on the executive. We have three arms of government. We have legislature, executive, and judiciary. While we make the laws, the executive, of course, implements the laws that we make, while the judiciary interprets the laws. So in making that, we have to oversight the functions of the executive and judiciary. That is active oversight. Coming to my sister Marjorie that talked about constituency project. Constituency project is nowhere in the Constitution of Nigeria. It's also not even in our Senate standing rules. It's a creative of National Assembly in order to reach out to our constituents and also to our constituencies. And the Senate, we have certain amount of money allocated to senators or provided for senators in the budget, and that of House of Representatives. In the Senate, we have about 250 million. That's the constituency allowance. And how do you deal with that? I have 58 communities, for instance, in my senatorial district. So I have to look at through the interactions between me and the constituents to know the areas they would like me to bring projects to their respective communities. If I decide to put borehole, for instance, I divide that 250 million to some communities, then some schools, some, of course, road projects and all of that. But if you look at that small allowance, it's quite small to what we do. So we reach out to executive, we reach out to ministers, we reach out to DGs, and even to leaders here, like my brother Abaribe, that has more allocation than any other senators, reach out to him, to Senate President, to Speaker, we write them to Toby Okechukwu, at least this year he gave me 30 million, to Toby Okechukwu, and all of that. So we reach out to them to see what they can do in order to pacify and meet up with the aspirations and yearnings of our people. So constituency project is just there, but sometimes the ministries don't even implement it fully. So you can have 250 million allocated. At the end of the day, it's just about 120 million that the executive will release. And that's the only project that they can.
In cases where these bodies are not fully released, what does the legislator do?
It depends on the paucity of funds. If we have enough funds, of course. If enough funds are not there, they will not. We have a limit to what we can do to ensure that because also we appropriate. But then, if they don't fund it fully, you keep pushing, of course. There's not much you can do because they don't have the funds.
So I want to talk to you for a minute now, Senator Oba. You've listened to what some of our constituents have said. How would you respond to their job, or how would you respond to their description of what they think your job is?
Yes, I listened to what the lady said. She was particularly talking about, the type of project the National Assembly people brought to them. Even there's a word she used that is not palatable, but then the whole country, senatorial zones can never be the same. For instance, myself, when I go to the National Assembly, in fact, I thank those who were in the National Assembly who created this constituency project. Because believe in me, at my age now, the only time my community and so many other ones in my senatorial zone came into Nigerian budget was when I get to the National Assembly. It is as bad as that. And without that constituency project, there's no single project. You can never find the name bearing that my area in the Nigerian Constitution. So you may not, if you now want to, what is good for Senator Kunife's constituents may not be what my own constituent required. I meet with my constituents and they tell me what we do. The most important thing, for instance, we need water, we need road in areas I come from. And these are where, and particularly I'm in sports, I'm the chairman of the Senate Committee on Youth and Sports. So we need sports equipment, we need stadium. And these are things where, but you see, as you just said, one project alone that people will say, 250 million naira. And so many of our constituents thought that when they had this money, 250 million, they thought they are giving you this money, raw cash. There's need for them to know that no senator or no National Assembly are giving cash, 1 naira.
So if nobody is giving cash, what then is the process of paying for the projects?
No, they pay direct. It is the ministry that award these contracts. The ministry also pay the contractors. We don't even nominate contractors.
Who identifies the projects to be carried out?
We do that.
Okay.
We put it in the project. What your constituents required, you try as much as you can, and then you will now allot the money. For instance, if you have 10 projects, you share this money into these 10 projects. It's now left for the ministry to award the contract, and as she rightly said, there's a year that they don't even pay up to 50%. Up to 50% of this constituency project. And that is why it's like some of these projects is not completing.
So who then do you hold accountable in cases where the monies released are not complete or that the projects paid for are not completely carried out?
The executive.
The executive,
yes.
Okay. So we'll come back to that in just a moment. The conversation is only just starting here in the studio. Remember, we're trying to understand what the job of a legislator is. When we return in just a moment, we'll invite members of the civil society to the mic to hear their submission on what they think the job of the legislator is and how they can bridge the gap between legislators and their constituents. Stay with us. You're watching Open Square.
Power grabbing and the governance through the gun will not help us, nor procure democracy through the judiciary. What we need is peaceful democracy that has respect for the will of the people and the future of our nations.
Nigerian citizens generally, and the working people in particular, can either continue to play the ostrich on the current trajectory of reckless, senseless, visionless journey towards democratic and socio-economic development and allow the country free fall into imminent self-destruction, which is clearly in sight, or, and this is the big O, they have to wake up, rise and join hands in solidarity for struggles and active engagement in the political process towards national emancipation from what I call the devilish alliance of exploiters, both internal and external, evidently hell-bent on not only eroding Nigeria's natural potentials, but also destroying it.
What we have in Nigeria today, insecurity, unemployment, hunger, and what have you, they are symptoms of a bigger problem. The real problem is lack of good governance. And good governance itself will continue to elude us as long as we do not tinker with the structure of our government. We are running a pseudo-federalism, and we are just hiding it. We are not the same, but we are brothers. But let me specifically talk about local government administration. Good governance continue to elude the masses when government is far away from them. The federal and the states, they are too far away from the grassroots. And local governments are the answer. For crying out loud, senators, rep members, what business do they have to be giving loans to people, to be providing social amenities? Theirs is to make laws. But because local governments, which are closer to the people, are not functioning, people are now depending on you, making burden on you to provide all these things for them. And that is why we must look at the structure of government and make local governments work.
Welcome back. You're watching Open Square live from the coal city of Enugu. I am Chika Ago here with lawmakers representing constituents from the southeast. Now, moments ago, we were trying to get an understanding of what the lawmakers do representing us at the National Assembly. We've heard submissions from constituents here in the studio with us. Now we're going to get some responses and questions from our constituents at home. Remember that to be a part of this conversation, all you have to do is text the WhatsApp number displayed on your screen right now. And we do have some questions here. I'd like for us to go over them as quick as possible so that we can move on to other issues. I'll start with you again, Senator Ekweremadu. And the question here is, why do you perform oversights for your constituency projects? Because according to this contributor here, you can't be the judge and prosecutor in your own case. Okay, we're going to come back to you in just a moment. And Senator Baribe, if you can respond to that.
Check my own.
Okay, we can hear you now, Senator.
Mine is working.
Yes, we can hear you now. Yes, we can. Please carry on.
Well, the thing is that
This mic is not.
It's not working. No.
Oh,
Hello?
Senator Baribe, I think we can hear you better.
Hello. Yes. It's a very intriguing question, saying why do you have to oversight the project that you have? No, we don't do that oversight. The oversight is done by the particular committee of the National Assembly within that particular ministry. For example, if I have put a borehole in one of my communities and the National Assembly has to oversight, those that we go will be the committee on water resources, not myself. Because what I have done is to nominate the particular community where that should be done. And that will bring me back to what I think Njoku Inowere first said, that we are not doing active oversight. That's not true. What actually is happening is that according to Section 88, even when we have done our oversight and we have our report, we still have to send the report back to the executive to implement. That is the issue. And so, where the executive is not inclined to do anything about it, then it will now look to the public as if nothing is being done.
All right. Let's move over to members of the civil society, to members of civil society here present. Please, I would like for you to talk to us about how you think we can reconcile what the job of a lawmaker is as presently understood by Nigerians and what it actually ought to be. And if you think there is a way in which we can bridge the gap in knowledge, there are microphones on either side of the room. So please feel free to walk up to any of the microphones and make your contribution. This is particularly for members of the civil society here present. When you're ready, please step up to the mic and we would have you ready. But let's now talk to our lawmakers again. And this time around, we want to talk about ease of access to your office. And this is important because oftentimes we hear people say that they find it difficult accessing their legislators. So in your case, Senator Ekunife, how would you describe the ease or difficulty with which your constituents can access your office?
Well, we don't have a particular system of having access to us. It depends on the individual lawmaker. For me, I have a very active zonal office in Oka. And legislators are located on offices. For Senate, we have 5 staff, the same with the House of Representatives, because I was there before. And in having 5 staff, you are the one that should allocate offices to them. For me, for ease of access, I have more than 20 staff in my zonal office. My office opens from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. on daily basis. And in the National Assembly, of course, if you're expecting visitors, you write the names of the visitors and send to the gate for access to your own office in terms of inquiries or whatever information they want to get from you. Then some people also would like to reach you on phone. I've used my phone for over 20 years now, since inception. I don't have 2 phones, I have 1 phone. And no one answers my call. I answer my call, and when I see missed calls, of course, I get back to the constituent. So it depends on each senator. We don't have a uniformed way of attending to our constituents. It depends on a particular senator.
All right. Senator Koremadu, how would you describe the ease or difficulty with which your constituents access your office?
All right. Thank you so much. This is my 19th year in the Senate. And the one thing I'm known for is that I respond to messages. Now, we all have constituency offices, but my experience is that it doesn't meet the expectations of our constituents in terms of meeting with the parliamentarians. So what we did in our own case was to set up what we call Enugu West People's Parliament. So people from Enugu West will testify to this. So every quarter will gather our constituents, we meet in one of the parliaments, we brief them what we are doing, they ask their questions, tell us their expectations.
Let's come back to you for in a minute. Let's speak with our studio audience. Have you at any point tried to reach out to your lawmaker and you've met some form of difficulty or another? Please state your name and your constituency rather, and make your contribution. Please remember to keep it brief.
Okay. Thank you. My name is Augustine Onyachana.
Okay.
I'm from Enugu West. I represent the disability community here. I've not personally made any communication to my senator or the honorable member in the Federal House of Reps. But I want to ask this question because of I may not have this opportunity again. At the national level, the senators and the honorable members has really done well for us persons with disability by passing the law that guarantees our rights, that protects our interests by passing that Prohibition Act against persons with disability in Nigeria. But I want to state here, I stand to be corrected, that apart from Anambra State, that their same law, Anambra State has domesticated that law at their state level and are implementing it almost more than 60%.
Okay.
But in other states of the southeast, Enugu State, Abia State,
okay,
Imo State, and Ebonyi State.
We're going to take all of this.
I want to know. They have done their own part. I want to see what they can do.
I understand you. Okay, but you know, just so that we can have continuity here in the studio, we're here and we'll take all of them. But at this point, I'd like for us to speak on access to your lawmaker. So if you want to speak on anything else, we'll give you room to talk about that. If you want to speak on access to your lawmakers, then this would be the right time to do it. We want to hear what your experience is when trying to reach out to your lawmakers representing you at the National Assembly. If you think that there are other channels of communication that they should consider opening so that it's easy for you to reach out to them. Remember to tell us your name, what your constituency is, and keep your submission as brief as possible.
My name is Chuks. I'm from Sud-Ocean, Enugu West.
Can you speak up a little louder, please?
Okay, my name is Chuks. I'm from Sud-Ocean, Enugu West Senatorial Constituency. And this is the first time I'm hearing about the Enugu West Parliament. I don't know how that is communicated to your constituents. But personally, from 2015, I've written to your office. I think that was the first time I wrote to your office. I never got a response. And that was based on the coal miners issue then that I was involved with. I've written to you, I think, close to 3 times. I never got a response. And then during the NSAS campaign, when we asked people to communicate with their representative, your number, I think it has, I think 0902 or 0802 or so. I sent a message, I called you, I reached you out on Twitter, you never responded. And this is like from 2015 till now, I've never gotten a response from my senator. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Yes, please, Senator.
First of all, I don't have any of those suspect numbers. I don't have any phone number 0802 or 0902. My numbers are 070 340 33 340 33888. The other was 080 75 75 7000. I have no number whatsoever. I never had any number with 082 or 092. So apparently you are sending to the wrong number. So I'm not sure I received any data from you. And I'm sure half of the people here are from Enugu West. They will testify to the efficacy of the Enugu West People's Parliament. There's no place it's gone anywhere in the world. We started it. It's one of our contributions to political science. They are here.
So what What then do you think maybe your office could be doing better with allowing access to it?
I believe I have the easiest access for anybody. If I'm in Enugu, my doors are open. You can go. I'm in Enugu now, so if you come here in the afternoon, you see the number of people at my gate or in my house. If you go to my village, something. In Abuja, same to my office.
Okay.
I'm easily accessible, so that's not a problem.
All right, so I would like to speak to you now, Senator Oba, because, you know, we had one of our constituents here speak on domesticating the law for persons living with disability. And I want to find out what and I think he was saying that, you know, one state has sort of domesticated it, but another hasn't. So I want to find out what role the National Assembly plays in encouraging the domestication of laws that they pass.
Thank you very much. Incidentally, that bill is my bill. So it was my bill, and I followed it up with all the people of disability until my colleagues in the Senate passed it into law. And when the commission was formed, they first of all sent it to my committee, but later I didn't know what happened. The president of the Senate removed it from my committee and sent it to humanitarian ministry. So then the issue of getting the executive to do is only if we appeal to them. And the governors, you can appeal to them. They are the liberty to accept or not accept. I don't think the legislator has any right forcing any executive to implement it or not to implement it. You know, those who have been in the National Assembly older than me, if there's any way, anything they know about that, they can say it. But for me, I don't, even my own governor that I used to have, I don't have anyone now.
Okay. Well,
if you...
Let me come to Senator Ekunife for a minute. What role do you think the National Assembly plays in getting State House of Assemblies to domesticate laws passed at national level?
Ours is to just persuade them, is to urge them. We're not going to force them because that is actually in a concurrent list. Is to speak to the speakers. They have speakers forum to see the need for them to domesticate that in their respective state assembly. And it boils down to what we talk about our governors, the encumbrance of governors on the state legislature and local government and all of that. Most times the state assembly members would like to do that, but they will look at the mindset of their governors. And if the governors don't want certain things to be done, most state assemblies will not do that. So it's just to persuade them, to let them see the need for them to domesticate that as quickly as possible, because that is one of the landmark bills we've actually passed in this ninth Senate, and it's what being domesticated.
Yeah, I think it's important to state here that the signing of this bill into law by the president was also partly triggered by one of our town hall meeting called The Candidates, which is also a production of Diarrhea Media. Just, thought to put that out there. Senator Baribe, I would also like to get your thoughts on this, because now it seems as though you would need some sort of influence on State House of Assemblies and maybe governors to get them to domesticate bills that you pass at the national level. How does that work in your opinion?
Well, I think that what you're saying is exactly what we need to do. Whatever influence we have, we use it to persuade the members of the House of Assembly in each state. It's not just the Disabilities Bill, the Child Rights Act.
When you say influence, is it on an official capacity or on a personal level?
It's on a personal level, because on the official capacity, once a bill is passed that is supposed to be domesticated, it's normally sent to all the state houses of assembly, and we normally communicate officially to them to say, who have passed this, you need to domesticate it. And like I said, it's not just the Disabilities Bill. The Child Rights Act and so many other acts, the Labor Act and so forth, are supposed to be domesticated in each state. But when the states have their own priorities, there's nothing much you can do about it. And what we do most of the time is that when we meet the speakers, the leaders in the House and so forth, we just talk to them quietly to say, this is on your table, why don't you do something about it? But we're not members.
Does it frustrate you?
Well, of course, we don't feel very happy about it, but there's nothing much we can do.
Okay, so let's come back to the audience again. If you would love to speak on accessing your lawmakers, again, because remember, that's the segment of the program that we're in right now. Accessing your lawmakers, and if it is at all easy or difficult to reach them whenever you need to reach them. We have a hand up here in front, so please let's give the gentleman a microphone to speak. Remember to give us your name, your constituency, and make your submission.
My name is Sir Emma Oha. I'm from Enugu West. My senator, I think, is the most accessible senator we have in the Southeast.
I don't think so.
I don't know of other areas.
Well, I think
we're in Enugu West.
It's important to always add that it's your opinion.
Well, in my own constituency, I wonder how he operates, because there was a time I sent him a message about 1:05 a.m. By 1:15, I got a reply. So
how close is your personal relationship with your senator?
Yeah, he attends to everybody, no matter who he is. I send messages to him, and I wonder how he operates, because if you come by 6 in the morning or 7, he's already woken up and very active, and I wonder whether he sleeps. So I think he's a very active senator. The number somebody called, 090, has never been his number.
Okay,
yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
thank you very much. There's someone else at the other end of the room. Okay, let's take one here, and then we'll go to the other side of the room. Please pass the microphone. Thank you very much.
My name is Hilary Ona. I'm from Udenu local government. And my question, I want to ask a question because I think it's today that I understand that this constituency allowance is not giving cash. I thought before now that the money is being given cash. So my question now is, because it seems as if the senators we have here is the performing senators. Because from my own zone, I wonder why, if this constituency allowance is given to all the senators, why some of the senators are not judiciously using the allowances for the development of their constituency. So my question is there any lobby, is there any way the senators lobby before this constituency allowances is being given to them? Thank you so very much.
All right, thank you very much. We'll come to that side of the room in just a moment, but Senator, if you would love to address that.
It's just that we don't have enough time. I would have loved to give you the background relating to all this issue of constituency project. But I think the major problem we have here is the issue of misconception and what I call expectation gap. Misconception in the first sense that people have always believed, and they have this mindset that will give monies to National Assembly members or State Assembly. That never happened before, and it will never happen, because we all have our own responsibilities. So what usually happens, my colleagues have said, is that figures are given to individual parliamentarians. All you need to do is to suggest projects up to that tune. Then the implementing agencies will now advertise it, they'll do the procurement, and they award. But after that, we keep hearing, oh, they gave you 1 billion naira to go and make
so
projects,
what? Maybe just
and you never did that.
Maybe for the purpose of clarity,
yes.
And because this is partly educational, can you talk us through the process of when deciding on the constituency project and its execution?
When democracy returned in 1999, so those who were elected at the time got into the National Assembly, and so their constituents never knew the difference between the parliamentarian and the executive. So they kept putting pressure on them. So their response was to, okay, let's start putting monies into the budget. And then, of course, Obasanjo would never allow any such thing. So even if you put 1 billion on one night, he would never implement it. Then fight started. So they were having these issues until in 2007, when we came into the leadership of National Assembly. We had a conversation with the then President, Yar'Adua, and we agreed on a total sum of 100 billion that can be, we consider constituency projects for the National Assembly. How do we divide it? What usually happens is that the 40 billion is usually being managed by the leadership of the National Assembly. They'll be able to intervene in sectors that feel very essential, like the electricity, water supply, and then maybe roads. The remaining 60, each geopolitical zone gets 10 billion. I mentored that process, that I knew what I'm talking about. So when you come to the states, like Southeast, we will have 5 states. So we all get 2 billion per state. Now, each state will now break it down with the senators and House members. So you will now get about 200 to 250. This money has nothing to do with you. So you suggest projects up to that amount, and then the implementing agencies. And then you send to them to implement, they'll advertise. Now, because of the amount involved, sometimes you have about 100 communities. And then you want to do roads, you want to do water, you want to do electricity. That can never happen. So what you need to do to the extent that amount can give you. So then people start complaining that, oh, no, that you're not doing anything for them, or that you just do 1 kilometer and all of that. But it's all limited to what you've got. But the tragedy here is that even at that, people keep saying they gave you 1 million or 2 million or 250, you chopped the money. You know, so meanwhile, nobody gave you anything. In fact, in my own case, there was sometimes they said they gave me money to do Enugu to Onitsha Road, and I chopped the money. But someone was telling me this one is the guy who lives in America. I said, you do such things in America. You know, there's a road petition to EFCC that gave me the money to go and develop Southeast I used to buy properties. Okay. Such a ridiculous thing. You know, so I think this kind of event helps us to explain to our constituents, the general public.
Yes.
You know, this.
Thank you so much for your patience to watch from the beginning to the end. I hope you have learned something from the video you have just watched. The video you have just watched is to bring information to your doorstep and for educational purpose. It is not to demonize anybody. Let us watch continuously and see who can be able to make a sense out of every nonsense we are seeing. We must continue. We move. It doesn't matter what they do. It doesn't matter what they say. They will kill us. We will kill them. At the end of the day, Biafra is here. Thank you for watching. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please kindly subscribe to the channel. Click the notification bell so that you're notified each time I upload a video. You will be among the first to receive it. Thank you and remain blessed. Bye-bye. See you again.